Hello, this is Johnny Henson, Professor Poole, with Billiard University out of Goodyear, Arizona. I'm going to be going around Phoenix and putting on free seminars. The purpose of these seminars is to allow players to have a chance to get some instruction from a professional billiard instructor. Less than 5% of players that play pool ever have any instruction from a professional billiard instructor. And we're hoping that by putting these on, we can change all that. I want you to think of these seminars as in two parts. The first part is going to be covering a lot of fundamentals, like bridges and having a loose grip and different fundamentals to improve your stroke and also to improve your game. The second part is going to be me educating you on the 10 parts of a perfect stroke, and then also filming you and grading you on film to show you exactly what you're doing right or wrong. The combination of these two seminars together is going to really improve a lot of players' games. Hello, this is Johnny Henson. I've designed these videos to where they're pretty much step by step, and I try to slow things down to where you kind of really get a feel for what's going on. And so let's say you can feel free to review these, rewind it, watch them again as much as you want. But I'm hoping that you'll take the time and watch these and help prepare yourself for my seminar. This is basically how you rack a 8-ball. The real rule is you got to have the 8-ball in the middle. You have to have an opposite ball in each corner. Some people go stripe, solid, solid, stripe, solid, stripe. That's okay. It does give you a little bit more variety after the break. But the real rule is you have to have the 8-ball here, and you have to have an opposite ball in each corner. Now what I want to do is I'm going to teach you how to rack the balls and get a tight rack every time, okay? A lot of people just roll the thing up, they take it off, they don't pay any attention to what's touching or not, and this is going to be one of those racks where it's just not going to split and it's going to take forever to play the game. First thing you want to do is get your head ball where your head ball don't move, And then I want you to put your rack up against it on both sides, and then just push the rest of the balls up. And if you do that, you're going to get a pretty tight rack, okay? So we'll try that one more time. We'll pull this away. We'll try to get our one ball where our one ball is resting, okay? We slide the rack up against it, and then you just push all these balls up, and you got yourself a tight rack. So this is the method I want you to practice to always end up getting a tight rack. Because if you get a tight rack, it's going to bust the balls wide open and you're going to have a whole lot more fun playing the game. What I'm going to be doing now is taking you through some basic Q-tip maintenance, okay? These things have been around for a while. One side's a scuffer, there's a picker on the inside, and I don't really like these. I think there's a better way of doing it than this. This is a Willard scuffer. This has been around forever. It's a shaper. So what it is, you do this, you rotate, you do this, you rotate, and you just keep doing that until you end up with a perfectly rounded tip, which is what this little groove is for. That's just saying that your Q-tip is a perfect tip. Okay, if your Q-tip is shaped and all you want to do is scuff it, well then this is a better way of scuffing because they don't take leather off of the Q-tip, okay? A lot of people call these tappers because people would use them to tap with, but a better way to do this is to sit there and rotate, just push and rotate, push and rotate, push and rotate. Or what you're doing is you're rolling that Q-tip over these little prongs. And what they're doing is they're putting indentions into your Q-tip, okay? And when you get done, this Q-tip will be a perfect Q-tip to hold chalk. Yeah, I don't know if you can really see that close, but you can see all the little indentions I have in this Q-tip. So by doing this, you're not taking leather off of the Q-tip. So it's going to make your Q-tip last a lot longer. Now I'm going to take you through how to chalk a Q-stick. You know, a lot of people, you know, that they're not very good chalkers if they chalk at all. Okay, a lot of people just give a little rub like that, and they don't even pay attention if they got chalk on the center of the stick or the tip or the edge of the tip. They just don't pay attention. What I want you to do is get in a habit of starting at the outside like this and going toward the middle, outside to the middle, outside to the middle. Now you can rotate as you're doing this. Okay, so basically we're just going to hit it, rotate, hit, rotate, hit, rotate, hit, rotate. So you're starting at the edge, on this edge here, and you're pulling it toward the middle. And if you just get in the habit of doing that, starting at the edge and pulling it toward the middle, what you're going to end up doing is you're going to end up with a perfectly chalk Q-stick. But the main thing you want to pay attention to is you always want to make sure that you're chalking right here on the edge of your Q-tip. Because right here on the edge of your Q-tip, if that's not chalked properly, that's where most of your miscues are going to come from. So you always want to pay attention to the very edge of the Q-tip when you're chalking. Now what we're going to do is cover how to grip the stick, okay? A lot of people get a death grip on it. You can see the whiteness of my knuckles there, and it just never ever allows you to play pool the way you should be able to play. So what I want you to do is get in a habit of holding this middle finger underneath your stick. See how you make a little groove there? Okay? And then I want this thumb to be on the side. So I want this thumb to touch this other finger, just like that. Okay? Not overlap it, but just touch it, okay? So we're going to rest the cue there. We're going to put the thumb on the side. Now, if you notice, I have a space here, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cue stick back and forth, and you see, it's going to be a very fluid, I'm going to be able to stroke this stick back and forth, and the reason for that is I got a space above the stick. And so, by you doing this, these other three fingers, if you look at these other three fingers, are really not going to do much of anything, except try to stay off the stick. The biggest problem that people have in pool is a tight grip. And most people want to get this death grip around the stick, and then they wonder why they can't play. So what I want you to do is get in the habit of cupping your middle finger, resting your stick, taking this thumb on the side, where these two are just touching, and then what I want you to do is I want you to have a space. Now to show you the space above the stick, I'm going to put a block of chalk there, and because I want you to have that kind of space above your stick. And if you do that and you practice this and keep these other three fingers off of your stick, then you're going to have a world-class grip to play pool with. Okay? Now the thing of it is, you have a loose grip. And so if you can picture your middle finger is the finger that's holding your stick. And between your middle finger and your elbow should make a straight line. You see how my middle finger is pointing directly straight up to my elbow. Now, when you're actually shooting pool, you want to maintain this elbow position. So this is your stroke. You're going to start with your pendulum perfect. You're going to take it all the way back and finish the shot. All the way back, finish the shot. All the way back, finish the shot. But what you're going to do is you're going to want to start with your pendulum being perfect, which is hanging directly below your middle finger is hanging directly below your elbow. And now when you're playing, you want to go straight back and straight forward. But you don't want your elbow to go side to side. You don't want your elbow to go up or down. You want to maintain this elbow position as much as possible, so that when you take it back or when you finish, your elbow is not going up and down. So try to maintain your elbow position, and this is going to enable you to play some really good pool. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to go through bridges. Okay, we're going to start with an open bridge. Okay, you take your hand, if you can, kind of spread your fingers away from each other. And what you're going to do is you're going to take this thumb and you're going to touch the side of this finger right here. And what that's going to do is it's going to create a little groove here. Now, if you notice, the tip of this finger and the knuckle are going to be almost even with each other, and that's going to cause a little groove. And this is called the open bridge, okay? So by the numbers, what we're going to do is we're going to spread our hand out. We're going to touch this thumb to this finger. You see how it's going to be up in the air? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to have a groove right here. Now, if we need to raise this bridge up or lower it, we don't really change this thumb touching the finger. What we do is we move the fingers more in or lay them further out. That's how we raise and close. This is the open bridge, okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to learn the closed bridge, okay? So how the closed bridge is going to work is I like to start with these two fingers touching each other, okay? A lot of people overlap this thumb and this finger, and that creates a very, very tight bridge that's hard to play with. So what we want to do is get in the habit of touching these two fingers together. Now, this finger here, the middle finger, is really the finger that the stick is actually going to ride on top of. So what we're going to do is touch these two together. But I want to show you this, that if I open this up, there's a little groove that's made between the thumb and this finger, okay? Now, when I put this together, it's going to make sense, okay? So when I go like this and I touch these two, really my guide is really this right here. This is what's actually guiding my cue. This finger is just holding it over, so this guide right here alongside my thumb is where my stick is actually, that's what's actually steering my stick. So we're going to touch these two fingers together. I'm going to have this middle finger at about a 45-degree angle. Now you notice it's loose, okay? It's very loose. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to turn it slightly to where it's able to have a groove, okay? So this is going to be what we call the closed bridge. So and actually my normal bridge length would be longer than this, but I'm just using this to teach. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to first start by touching these two fingers together. Okay, we're going to make sure that this middle finger is underneath the stick. Okay, now it's not solid. Okay, it kind of wiggles. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to slightly turn this hand to where this part of our thumb or the side of our hand is touching. And you see how that's not restrictive at all. And it just slides in and out, in and out, in and out. Okay? So now let's say I need to raise this bridge. Let's say I need to raise it up. Okay? Well, then I'm going to raise these spread these fingers apart, or I'm going to pull them together. But this is how I'm going to be able to raise or lower this bridge. Now this is the closed bridge. So another thing I would like to make note is, let's say that you're getting ready to shoot, okay? And let's say you're exactly where you need to be. Well then, right before you shoot, I want you to push down with the heel of the hand with a force of about 3 pounds, okay? So to kind of demonstrate this, let's say I'm loose and I'm got everything just the way I want to. Now I'm going to push down with about 3 pounds of force. That's going to set this bridge and make this bridge where it can't go anywhere. So by the numbers one more time, you slide your finger, you touch these two fingers, you basically make the groove, okay? And then right before you shoot, you push down with about 3 pounds of force. And this is the closed bridge. And this is going to take you a little while to master, but it definitely will be something you'll use a lot while you're playing. Okay, so now what we're going to cover is a basic rail bridge. We're going to start by both of these fingers. The thumb is going to be tucked underneath and the middle finger are going to make kind of a straight line. If you can see that, it makes a straight line. Okay, now these two fingers are going to be on the rail itself. So if you see that they're on the rail itself. Now this finger here is going to go over the top. Now these two fingers are going to be your guide. This is what's going to actually guide your cue. Okay, and then this finger here is just going to pull it over to those two fingers. Now you can flatten them out, you can tinker with it, but the gist of it is this middle finger and the thumb are both on the rail. You're going to slide your stick over here, and then that's going to be how you make a rail bridge. And so a lot of people make the mistake. I'm just going to demonstrate a mistake. A lot of people, they get on the rail and they want to do a closed bridge, and then you see how high up off the bridge, the rail they are. They're going to have a very hard time to play in any kind of good pool like this. What you want to do is keep your stick on flat, and you want to keep a level cue. Well, the only way you can do that when you're near the rail is to make a good rail bridge, and this is how you do it. Now, this is going to be what I call an extended rail bridge. You know, when your ball, let's say, is really close to the rail, then you don't really have a lot of room to move your stick. So a lot of times people make a mistake. They start trying to do this, but the thing of it is, you're only going to be able to have about maybe a 2-inch backstroke if you do it this way. So what you really want to do is you want to put your middle finger on the rail. You want to have this finger over the top, and see, you want to push these fingers down. So you want to have your groove between those two fingers. Okay, now you can do this like this, and it's going to give you about maybe 5 or 6 inches. Okay. Another thing you can do, if it's more comfortable, is you can form the equivalent of a closed bridge. And now what you can do is you can put this middle finger on there, and you can see how you can tuck this other one down on this side of the wood. And so by doing this, then this finger out here can actually act as a little bit of a guide. And you're just going to have to actually work on this a little bit. I think that an extended rail bridge is probably difficult for most people to do, but just keep in mind that you need to have some sort of guide out here, and if you want to do it closed, or if you just want to do like 2 fingers lapping over the stick, whatever is more comfortable for you. But just try to give yourself a little bit of distance so you're able to hit the cue ball. Okay, now I'm going to show you probably one of the most difficult bridges that you're going to learn. It's going to be a tripod bridge. Now, how you're going to do this is you're going to use your body and this thumb as a guide. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put my fingers, you're going to spread your fingers out. You're going to make a little hook with this finger up in the air. Now you're going to pull this stick into your body. So if you look at it, my finger being hooked in my body, that's going to become the guide for my cue stick. Okay? So we put our hand down, and we get this finger, and then if you notice that it's against my body. So see, I'm using this thumb and my body as the guide. Now, one thing I want you to do when you're actually using this in a real game is don't get crazy. Just take a small backstroke and straight forward. Small backstroke, straight forward. Because it's not the best bridge in the world, but and it's not very accurate. So try to modify your shot and try to keep it as simple as you possibly can. So basically, by the numbers, I hook, I bring this into my body, and then what I do is I just line up everything to where it is, and then I straight back, straight forward, straight back, straight forward, straight back, straight forward. Okay? Now, what I'm going to briefly touch base on is the shooting line. Like, let's say I'm shooting the 10 straight ahead toward the camera. This becomes the shooting line. The shooting line is my cue stick lined up with where I'm trying to shoot. A lot of people, what they do is they get down on the table, they don't pay any attention, and they try to do all this manipulation once they get down there. You know, like let's say I put my hand here, and then I'm trying to wiggle. Well, see, that's why most people have a lot of trouble playing pool, because you need to align your body with this shot line. So what we're going to do to briefly do this, we're going to start by taking our cue stick, and this is on that line, okay? I'm going to put my foot on that line, my back foot. Now this front foot can be wherever I want it to be, okay? So what I'm going to do is that when I line up, see, I'm lining up everything on this line. So I'm what I'm basically doing is getting everything done ahead of time and trying to drop down on this line, okay? What most people make a big mistake is they first get down, and then instead of moving their body, then they try to manipulate everything else to make it all line up after they're on the table. Well, if you're not set up properly before you ever go down, you'll probably never be set up properly, okay? So what we want to do is we want to imagine this imaginary line and get our foot pretty close to this line. And then what we want to do is we want to kind of drop down on that line and get everything lined up. And that's where we have our good bridge, and we have this loose grip and everything. Now, what I'm going to mention to you is how we're going to briefly go through how to shoot a shot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this line, right? Put my foot on that line. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get everything lined up and get my bridge and everything where it goes. Now, when I'm all set up, that's when I'm going to push down with the heel of my hand to set this bridge. So really you keep your bridge hand fairly loose up until the time that you're getting ready to actually shoot the shot. And then what you want to do is you want to push the heel of your hand down to the table with a force of about 3 pounds of force, and that's going to set that bridge. So we'll just go through it really quick one more time. Okay, there's my shot line. I put my foot on the line. I get everything lined up. I get my aiming done, and now I'm pushing down with the heel of my hand to set my bridge. Okay? Now, when we're starting to practice our stroke, what I would like for you to do, because a lot of us don't have very good bridges yet, because we're going to be practicing that. What I want you to do is be able to isolate your stroke, eliminating the bridge as much as possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to practice shooting this shot using a rail bridge, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to get our rail bridge, which is tucking those 2 fingers in. We're going to line up everything, and then when everything is good, my pendulum is good, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my stick straight back and straight forward, okay? Now, I'm going to do this a couple of times. Anytime that your cue stick is not going forward, you see how my cue stick went a little bit to one side, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to set this ball up again, okay? Okay, and I got my foot and everything where it needs to be, okay? So now I'm going to drop down on my line, set my bridge. I'm going to go straight back, and go straight forward. And what I'm going to do is look and make sure that my stick is on that line going straight ahead. Now, by using the rail bridge to practice your stroke, then it don't matter if you have a very poor bridge, because you're going to be working on those. So what I want you to do is use the rail itself to practice your stroke, and that way you can really focus on the stroke itself and improving the stroke itself. Another problem that a lot of players early on have a lot of trouble with is hitting in the center of their cue ball. So what I want you to do to practice hitting in the center of the cue ball is I put this 12 or a stripe on the line, and I've got the stripe lined up exactly where I'm going to go, okay? Now if you notice, if I put my Q-tip exactly halfway between those 2 stripes, that's going to be pretty well dead center on a cue ball. So this is a way for you to kind of get used to finding the center of your cue ball. Also, it's a way for you to get a feel for when you're not hitting in the center of the cue ball. So what you're going to end up doing is when you're shooting this in a drill, what you're wanting to do is get everything lined up perfect, right? I'm in the very center of that stripe, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw it back, and I'm going to shoot. And this is an easy way for relatively new players to get used to hitting absolutely dead center on their cue ball by using a stripe to kind of help you get a feel for that. Hello, this is Johnny Henson, Professor Poole with Billiard University out of Goodyear, Arizona. Today I'm going to go over the parts of a perfect stroke, so this will help prepare you for the second seminar. Let's briefly talk about bridge length and stroke length. Think of your bridge length as where you put your bridge hand, where your hand's actually holding your stick. That's your bridge length. That's the difference between where your hand is and your tip of your cue stick. Your stroke length is how far do you draw it back. Okay, so this is my bridge length and this is my stroke length. Okay, what makes this so important is if you don't have a proper bridge length, you'll never have a proper stroke length. So the two go hand in hand. What we want you to do is have a good stroke length, because if you don't have a proper stroke length, you'll never be able to play the game the way it's intended to play. A lot of players make a mistake. They choke up real close to the ball, and then what they do is they take it back about 2 or 3 inches and they try to jab at it. And you're never going to be able to play very good pool like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to work on your bridge length and stroke length in class. Let's briefly talk about a loose grip. Most players get a death grip on their stick. You can see the whiteness of my knuckles, and they really get to the point where they can't play pool at all because they just got a death grip on their stick. So what we're going to be learning how to do is how to loosen this grip up and having a space above the cue stick. And this is going to enable the stick to have a fluid motion, and it's going to enable us to be able to play pool the way the stick was designed to play pool. Let's briefly talk about having a level cue when we play. This is having a level cue. Your cue stick is actually on the table when you're playing. A lot of players, when they play, they jack their stick up. They sometimes even take the heel of their hand up off their bridge, and they start trying to do this, and it never is going to be a very good way to play. It enables you, some shots become absolutely impossible. So what we're going to be learning how to do is we're going to be learning how to get this cue stick on the table when we're playing and having a level cue, and that's going to enable us to do a lot of shots that we weren't able to do before. Let's talk a little bit about bridges. The biggest flaws that I see in a lot of players is they have their heel up off the table and maybe even have their stick up off the table, but they don't have a very solid bridge. So what we're going to be learning with bridges is we're going to learn how to get the heel of our hand on the table when we're playing, or at least push these fingers down, and so therefore we have a solid bridge that won't go nowhere. And so we have a lot of work to do on bridges, but having a solid bridge and having a consistent bridge is the key for you to play better pool. Let's briefly talk about your elbow. Your elbow and your grip hand should actually make a straight line down when you're actually making contact with your cue ball. I'll kind of get up and I'll actually demonstrate this, So what you're looking at is the elbow and the finger should make kind of a straight line between this elbow and here. And when you're playing, that would be a good pendulum. A lot of times players are making contact back here, or they're making contact up here, and you can see where your stick is not going to be level either one of those places. So we're really going to be working on developing you a really good pendulum when you're playing pool. Let's talk about cue ball address. A lot of players, when they're just getting started, they're kind of nervous about hitting the cue ball by accident, so they kind of back way off. This is not going to enable you to play very good pool at all, because you're always going to be kind of lunging for the cue ball. So what we're going to be doing is developing a cue ball address that's relatively close to the cue ball. So let's say our grip, our stick, our pendulum, and everything else is lined up properly. Then we're going to be all set up for the moment of contact with this cue ball, and we're only going to be able to do that correctly if we have a really close cue ball address on the cue ball. I'll be talking to you a little bit about eye patterns, or what I call mental patterns. There's two sides of your brain. There's the brain that is analyzing, and there's the mechanical side of your brain telling your body to move. If your brain's trying to do 3-4 things at the same time, it's not going to do any of them very good. So what we're going to do is we're going to be breaking down the stroke into different parts. And this is going to allow your brain to only do one part at a time. And over time, your brain's going to get really, really good at doing that one part at a time. You really need to develop a slow backstroke with a pause. And I'll just kind of show you. Let's say I'm jerking my stick back really quick and I'm trying to stop it. You can just see the body motion that's causing. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a slow backstroke, pause, finish. Slow backstroke, pause, finish. Slow backstroke, pause, finish. You notice that there's no body motion. There's no tension in my wrist. A lot of flaws go away when you do a slow backstroke with a pause, and then you just go and finish your shot. So we're going to be really working on that in this class, is to get you to get in the habit of taking your cue stick back very slowly in your backstroke. These are the things you need to be doing when you're actually hitting a cue ball, okay? You need to have a smooth follow through. It shouldn't be choppy or pokey, okay? You should follow all the way through to a finish position. In other words, you're going to take your stick all the way back and all the way to a finish position. You're not going to give up on it or poke at the cue ball, okay? You're not going to have an elbow drop. So when you're hitting a shot, you're not going to be doing one of these, dropping the elbow, trying to chase after it. You're not going to be doing that, okay? You're not going to have any head or body motion. You know, there's a lot of times when people are hitting a shot, their head's going up in the air, their elbow's going down, so their entire body's moving. So there's no way that Q-tip could be in the same position it was when you originally addressed the cue ball, okay? And you need to stay down after each shot and freeze to evaluate what you do. If you stay down on a shot, you can say, oh my goodness, I moved my head, or oh, I dropped my elbow, or whatever you did wrong. So what you need to do is you need to freeze after each shot, and you need to evaluate what you did right or wrong. That's how you can actually learn from every shot you shoot.